Hi, I'm Max Keiser. This is the Keiser Report. Stacey?
Max, I'm going to go into a very good reason for having Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in this first headline because there's an interesting concept called stealing productivity. Now, in resource-rich nations, the rulers often don't have any need for the consent of the people because they have all the free resources. It's printing money, isn't it? In the Western financialized world, with all these financial products, whether the derivatives or basically the fact that bankers and the elite get the fresh cash first. They get the free resource of cash and then they dispense it. So with that financialized system, we have this concept of stealing productivity. And it came out in this article in The Atlantic, the win-win fallacy. Entrepreneurs say they're trying to help others while also helping themselves, but that claim may be hope masquerading as description. So they talk about this guy named Justin Rosenstein who made hundreds of millions of dollars working with Google and Facebook. Like basically he invented the like thing on Facebook, right? So from that, he made tens of millions of dollars, and he also made money from Google. But now he's trying to help the world, and how he's trying to help the world is also by helping himself, which is he created some productivity enhancing collaborative tools. And this paragraph really struck me as the problem with our fiat and derivatives-based system. Justin Rosenstein's desire to improve people's lives by making everyone a little more productive was noble, but one of the central economic challenges now facing his country is the remarkable stagnation in wages for half of Americans despite the remarkable growth in productivity. The increasingly extractive financial sector is in part responsible. That sector could be arranged in other ways, including tighter regulations on trading, higher taxes on financiers, stronger labor protections to protect workers from layoffs and pension rating by private equity owners, and incentives favoring job-creating investment over mere speculation. Such measures could help to solve the underlying problem by preventing the capture of gains from growing productivity. Absent such measures, an initiative like Rosenstein's would bring the change it promised. It would serve to further increase an abundant thing likely to be hoarded by elites, productivity, instead of a scarce thing that millions need more of, and that's wages.
Well, it sounds like he's reinventing slavery.
What they're suggesting, and I believe, is that the financial sector, and we can see that, we've covered that chart since 1971, when we went off the gold standard, you do see that productivity has continued to increase rapidly in America. That means that American worker is producing more and more GDP per day, per week, per month, per year, and yet their wages continue to go flat or down. The economy does continue to grow, and that's because since we went off the gold standard, bankers and the financial sector especially are able to capture that productivity through financial derivatives, through financialization of the economy, whether it's through the financialized education system, a financialized healthcare system. They're able to capture any gain. They measure to a penny how much productivity has increased, how much more GDP is, and they just steal it. They don't need to give it to the worker.
I repeat, he's reinvented slavery. And what I mean is slavery is highly productive. You're getting a lot of GDP growth for not a lot of money. You're getting GDP growth per hour, paid per hour. And there's nothing more productive than slave labor except for maybe prison labor. So all of these innovations, like the like button, is a way to turn what would ordinarily be productive workers creating wealth for themselves into slave labor, creating wealth for Mark Zuckerberg. So this is all about neo-slavery, and this is all about the robots who are taking all the productivity and passing that on through labor arbitrage to the pockets of the tech elite. And they do it channeling through the financial system, which is in totally the hands of the same 1,000 bankers and technologists who make all the laws.
Since 1971, when we went off the gold standard, we'd have the ability to financialize the economy. Then you had Reagan come in the 80s, early 80s, and then you could have the deregulation, which allowed even a greater explosion of financialization. And then you had Bill Clinton, who got rid of Glass-Steagall and introduced the Commodities Modernization Futures Act, which really allowed for hyper financialization of the economy most importantly that. And you see, as soon as that was introduced, you see like the explosion in the fundamental basics of life, like healthcare, like food, not so much food, okay, healthcare, education, all those things you need to get ahead. So I think that has also kept people from the wages being ever lower, because people need even a little bit of money to pay off the interest on their credit cards and their auto loans and their student loans in particular, and pay for their Obamacare and things like that.
Right, they give fiat money coupons are in exchange for labor, and then those coupons have to be spent on the government-owned, government-subsidized, collectively owned healthcare system.
Yeah.
So again, using slavery as a model, they had the company store, right? So you got your $1 a month in slave wages, but you had to spend it at the company store.
We have company stores now for sure.
Right,
more
it's
and
called
more
the healthcare system.
Well, the healthcare system, the telecom system, your mobile phone, your anything you need. Healthcare, you have one hospital in the area. You only have a few options. You have 3 or 4 options.
Right, they'll keep printing all the fiat money that they feel like printing at any given day, but the purchasing power of that fiat money will constantly collapse. If you don't have the ability to print your own money, you're going to be a slave.
But I wanted to point out that you and I have already pointed out in Keiser report, in particular, I did on a previous episode of like in the past year or two, that this is kind of like Galt's Gulch, you know, that the Atlas shrugged, that this moment where the workers, as they in the Atlantic, which is more mainstream, you know, corporate media, is they're also seeing that the financial sector is capturing all your productivity growth. So why work harder? Why produce more when a banker is just going to take it? So that, like, they give up, right? It's the same sort of notion that Atlas Shrugged said would happen in socialism. But that's because we do have a form of socialism, which is socialism for the very, very top 1.1%. And I think as well on this, in terms of the productivity gains, I think this is why the people naturally came up with cryptocurrencies, which are immutable and uncensorable, and you can't create counterfeit Bitcoin. So I think this is a way for them to take back their productivity, take back their wealth, because if you engage in that system, it's clear, as even the Atlantic is pointing out, that they're just going to steal any of your hard work.
Well, you mentioned Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged as a seminal piece. I would also put the book of The Road to Serfdom, which is a paean against socialism, should be applied to financialization.
Sure, yeah.
Because that's another road to serfdom that we're all experiencing. If the economy is entirely controlled by the financial sector, and the financial sector can print money to award themselves and not circulate that money amongst the general population in the slave colony, the penal colony called the United States of America, then they will benefit wildly, as they do.
Yes, I also might say, I believe it was Marx who also predicted financialization would do this, but Hayek was writing about the tyranny that would be caused by socialism. So I want to turn to this
This is the tyranny of financialization.
And I want to turn to this next headline. And you tell me, just listen to what this patent that was awarded to Amazon. You tell me if this sounds like some dystopian nightmare, tyrannical nightmare. Amazon has patented a system that would put workers in a cage on top of a robot. A patent Amazon has received would pair humans and machines. In this case, the humans would be in a cage. The patent was called an extraordinary illustration of worker alienation, a stark moment in the relationship between humans and machines by researchers who highlighted it in a study published last week. Amazon says it has never implemented the technology, but basically what this is designed to do is that you would enter the humans in this machine, and you could see it in the patent application, and you would be able to safely enter robot-only areas.
You know, I read the patent, and as someone who has patents myself, that have patent numbers here in the U.S., I'll tell you what the genuine purpose of this patent is. They're finding that AI, as it becomes more self-aware and more sentient, the robots need ways to amuse themselves. So the humans in the cages on top of the robots are there for the robot's amusement. So when the humans are in the cage above the robot, the floor is electrified. So when the robots get bored, they flick a switch like a dancing chicken.
I think
so the humans are like,
chickens.
they're doing dancing chickens purely for the amusement of the robots. They're not there for any functional reason.
It would be karmic justice. I mean, don't we put little hamsters and wheels and watch them run around in a circle?
In a survey of millennials, 80% said they wouldn't mind.
Well, this is a patent that they were awarded, by the way, and it does look a little bit bleak for our future. I don't have this headline here, but Robinhood, that popular app that all the millennials are downloading in order because they get to trade free. You were a broker, of course, back in those days when you were a broker, you used to charge many dollars to execute a trade per share, right? And now, then the discount broker just came in, and now Robinhood offers free trading. Well, it turns out that Robinhood, the app that millennials are using to trade stocks and shares and stuff like that, and they're all sharing how much money they've made in the past year on their stock portfolio with all the free trading. Well, it turns out that the guys who are behind this popular app, that their background is hedge funds and high frequency trading. They've been selling all the data at 5 times the rate any other brokerage does to high frequency traders. So what that means is they're selling all the data of millennials to some hedge funds that front run their trades. So they're scalping you.
Right, they're front running this trade. So they're giving their high frequency trading buddies a look at your trade before you make the trade or before it executes, so they can scalp some money off of you. So again, it's that slave jail prison model. You're there for the amusement of the robots. High frequency trading robots are going to need you for both do silly things that they can front run and scalp some coins, and for their amusement.
The future is that you are going to have to get into a cage to not only be safe around the robots and the warehouses that you're going to be working at, but also to be safe on the roads for the self-driving cars that they're going to dominate. They're going to own the road.
NYU is now offering courses in pole dancing because, while you're in that cage, you might as well get a little exercise and do some pole dancing like I used to do at Trudy Heller's on 6th Avenue back in the late 70s, early 80s. It's a very famous lesbian bar. I was one of the first go-go dancers here in Manhattan. Well, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, much more coming your way.
You do know we're in D.C., right?
To a pole dancer, it all looks the same. Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to turn to Ala Kanani of the Satoshi Center in Botswana. She's here for the DC speaking at the Black Blockchain Summit. She'll be speaking at Crypto Springs in Palm Springs, California in early October. Ala Kanani, welcome back.
Thank you.
You've been on the Keiser Report a couple of times.
Yes.
We've spoken with you in Botswana.
Yes.
And now the Satoshi Center has been a big success, and crypto and Bitcoin is such a huge success that you're now part of this growing global movement of crypto and Bitcoin. And so you got involved back in 2014. So tell us about your how you first got involved.
When I started the Bitcoin revolution or movement in Botswana, it started off as something that was a bit strategic because I had a son who was very sick, and in early 2012. So I was looking for ways to work online in which I can make money to help my son so that he can get the heart and lung transplant. So I got across Bitcoin through that way, and I worked online for some business that never paid me anyway. But I lost my son, although, at the end of the day. So I quit the online thing and the Bitcoin thing. So I just stopped there in 2012, 2013, early 2013. Something was like bugging me about this Bitcoin thing that I have learned. So I was like, okay, let me go back and study this thing now just to understand what this Bitcoin thing is all about. So I went back, I started reading about Bitcoin. And that's when I decided to form a community of people so that I can come and teach them about Bitcoin. So 2013, 2014, I had a community of about 20 people that were attending my meetups, and I was doing all that since, and then later on, 2014, in August, I registered the Satoshi Center as a center where I'll be teaching young children, and the center where I'll be working with developers to try and find solutions for Africa using the blockchain technology.
Now, I was at the Black Blockchain Summit as well,
yeah.
And one of the themes I picked up at the summit, at the conference, was that in Africa, it's a country where they have incredible resources. It's the richest country in the world as far as resources. Continent, excuse me.
Yes.
And then it's also, of course, suffers from wide-scale poverty because a lot of those resources have been extracted, taken away. And am I right to say that when Africans look at Bitcoin, they see it as a way to maybe take a different path away from the colonialization that they've had to deal with, the imperial ambitions that have racked the continent. Is that a fair statement?
I think for many, I'll say Bitcoin to them is a way to liberate themselves, like from financial oppression. Bitcoin also like give access to financial access to almost everyone. You know, you are able to control your own money, how you use it, and how you spend it, and how you gain it. Nobody like controls what you do. That much. So I think for many African countries, they look at the technology behind the technology and blockchain as something that can help them create solutions that will benefit the people on the ground. That is why you find people talking about creating an African cryptocurrency that will be backed by the resources that are found within the different countries in the continent. So I think that's the whole idea. I mean, like have something that way you're able to control, something that will be able to, help you, to have your resources stay in your country.
And so the Satoshi Center that you started up and had, tell us a little bit about that.
Right now, like I tell you, I wanted to have a place where, I can take a kid from 6-year-old to 13 to educate them on coding, to teach them how to code. And also have young developers, like the graduates from universities who are not employed. One of the problems that we are having is the issue of unemployment. Children graduate from universities and they don't have a place where they can go and work. So my vision for Satoshi Center was to be able to take these graduates who are doing computer studies or software engineering to have a place where we can go there and learn about blockchain, different blockchains, like Ethereum blockchains, like Stellar. We did a lot of Stellar a few months back. Like right now, I managed to have some guys of EOS. We're going to have a community of EOS also at the center. So at the moment, what is happening, I've got developers only. The side of the kids, I was unable to do it because of lack of resources, but I've got developers. I think for now, I've got about 7 developers who are working on different solutions for Africa, for Botswana, that can also work for Africa. So that's what we're doing at Satoshi Center. We are up and running. We are based in Mogoditsani, in Gaborone. So yeah.
So now you're wearing the shirt, Satoshi is black.
Yeah.
Sinclair Skinner was on the show, and we were talking about this. What does that phrase, Satoshi is black, mean to you?
Being black is not color. It's the spirit, it's something that is within you. I mean, if you are able to associate with liberating the people of color or any marginalized group, you are black. So being black, Satoshi is black means anybody who is able to associate or to relate to the person who is marginalized, or the person who needs to be empowered. That's Satoshi is black. So I'm Satoshi.
Right. I mean, it seems like it's more in the keeping of the spirit of the creation of Bitcoin, because a lot of times in the community, there's so much infighting now with these different coins and different communities. They seem to have lost that spirit side of it, that the reason why it came into existence to begin with. Let's move on to just talk about Botswana here for a second. So since independence in 1966, Botswana has one of the fastest growth rates in per capita income in the world, transformed itself from one of the poorest countries in the world to an upper middle income country with a standard of living around that of Mexico, which is, it's a fantastic story. Has Bitcoin been a part of that, or is it going to be a part of it, or how's that? Tell us a little bit about that.
All that was happening did happen not because of Bitcoin. I think because we've got a lot of resources. We had good government. One of the things that is happening in Botswana is that we have got peace, a lot of peace. You know, sometimes peace resonates with a stable economy. So I think because of the political stability of my country, that's why, we are able to control the resources sometimes that we have. And I think in the future, that's when we're going to have a lot of the Bitcoin economy, being part of the economy of Botswana. So right now we are like still, the government is still learning as to what exactly is Bitcoin.
How is the government, a dialogue with the government going along with the Bitcoin?
I think we are seeing a bit of a progress compared to in the past. Like in the past, we have had before the governor saying people should not deal with cryptocurrency. They should go away run away from cryptocurrency, to a speech now that says, you should be careful. If you say you should be, you're not saying don't do it. You are saying, but do it, but be careful. And also they say any business that is doing cryptocurrency should go through the right channel, that the right registration process. If you are to transmit money, that if you are an exchange, you can go and register with the regulators to say I'm running a Bitcoin business. I think we are seeing a lot of positive thing. Like right now on the 18th of September, there's going to be a training at Botswana Innovation Hub, and one of the things that I saw in the program is that they're going to be talking about blockchain. So for me, I see positivity. I see something positive that's going to come out of that.
You mentioned about Botswana and the economy and the growth there. That you mentioned the word peace.
Yeah.
It's a peaceful country, and trade and trade amongst people.
Yeah.
It promotes peace.
Yeah.
And when you have hard money, like gold, or when you have Bitcoin, you have fair trade, and you have peace.
Yeah.
When you have fiat money, unbacked money that's printed by the government with no accountability, that, like in the U.S., people say the U.S. dollar is backed by the Pentagon. It's backed by war. It's backed by, even Paul Krugman at the New York Times says it's backed by violence.
Yeah.
So it seems in keeping with the spirit of Botswana to have a currency that promotes peace.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think so, because one of our currency is called Pula. Pula means rain.
What? Tell me more. What? I'm learning something here.
It's called Pula. P-U-L-A.
Is the name of the
currency.
Of the currency.
Yeah, the BWP.
And it's called
Pula.
rain.
Yeah, it's called rain, like Pula. Pula sustains life. When there is rain, we are able to plow. Our cattle are able to grow fed. We're able to, live. So I think just by calling it Pula, to me, it just means, we believe in sustaining the lives of the people that are in Botswana. So
okay, so let's talk about this for a second, because they say that money is only good to as effective as you can distribute it.
Yeah.
And not to be crude, but they say it's a little bit like in the farming industry, they talk about manure, and they say you have to spread it around for it to be effective. Yeah. So with money, it's similar. It has to be distributed.
True.
And in the United States, for example, the central banks and the banks do not distribute the money at all. They hoard the money, and they cause social unrest, heroin addiction, and war. Yeah. So, but I take it in Botswana with this idea of Pula, it's a much different view toward things.
I think the reason that they've called it a Pula, that was the reason. But for now, I'm not sure if the currency is really distributed among everybody. I'm not very sure, because right now, like I said, there's a lot of unemployment. So unemployment causes a lot of things. It causes crime. It causes people doing drugs. It causes all that. I think if maybe we can go back to the origin of saying why we named our currency Pula. I don't know why they did, but that's my own description of Pula and our currency. But there's a lot of that in our country now. For now, young people are unemployed. So if maybe we can have a good distribution of money, and maybe there's a basic income, I'm of the view that people must have a basic income. There should be a basic income for everybody. That will cause people to have that equality. Yeah.
Now, you have spoken about creating a scam-free environment in the crypto space. Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I was saying right now we see a lot of people that call themselves blockchain experts or Bitcoin experts, but they don't even have the right foundation. They don't know exactly what they're doing. But because there is this initial coin offering going on, everybody tend to come up with projects that it's just a white paper, but there is no working model, there is nothing, and there is money, millions of money out of the people, and people get scammed. So I was saying to people, if you want to build an ecosystem that is full of integrity and without scam, you must give yourself time to learn things. Take your time, learn. Be willing to be a student. If you are to run a business, be willing to learn. Take time to learn. Take 2 years or 3 years to build your project, and have people that can advise you. Sometimes your advisor can tell you, wait, don't do this. When they say wait, they don't say don't do it. They're saying take your time first, so that if there is any problem, you're able to deal away with it. So that at the end of the day, you will be able to run a business that is full of integrity. And another thing that I was advising people is that be focused. Don't be, don't let people know you as the one that is running Satoshi Center, and out of Satoshi Center, there is this thing that is happening in Satoshi Center. Don't be Satoshi Center, and tomorrow you are something, and tomorrow you are something, because if you are not focusing on one thing, you're not focusing. So you must be able to focus on exactly what you want to do. What is that you want to build?
Excellent advice. Focus, stay focused, stay integrity. It's got to be paramount.
Yes.
And be patient.
Then be patient. I mean, those are the things that can help you to build an ecosystem that is full of integrity and without scam. Otherwise, you end up, doing things. A scam, to me, is like saying, I'm going to run a Satoshi Center to educate people, to work with the entrepreneurs, and maybe I do an ICO for that. And people give me the money to say I'm going to run the Satoshi Center the way I told them on the white paper. And then when I receive the money, I don't do what I say. So that is a scam. So
heck yeah, we're familiar with that in America. So Ala Kanani, thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report. We look forward to seeing you at Crypto Springs coming up in October as well. It sounds like a fantastic event. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. I'd like to thank our guest, Ala Kanani. She's the founder and she runs the Satoshi Center in frickin' Botswana. That's a long way away. Hey, if you want to catch us on Twitter, it's Keiser Report. Until next time, bye, y'all.